Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Evolution 2026. We have a super special guest today that means a lot to me and my school journey. When I started on school, the first community I ever went into, Hank was the first person I really ever talked to, and we DM'd each other, and then got each other's phone calls and phone numbers, and he called me one day and said, "Brother, I think you're a leader, and I really want to take you under my wing, and I want you to take others under your wing that come into this program." As we were in a coaching program at the time. And that day sparked what you now see almost 3 years later. And it's pretty cool. So it's really special for me to have Hank Miner with us today. And Hank, I'm just gonna get right off to it. Thanks for being here. And we our first question is always who is Hank Miner? So that's where we'll start.
Yeah, that's always a good question. It's the one I wake up with every day. Um, well, a number of things about that. Number one, I'm an old guy, and I'm happy to be an old guy. Been on the planet for a long time, and was great to have good mentors and teachers and gurus and things like that along the way. And what that led me to in my life was a career that started as a counseling psychologist. I was a psychotherapist for many years. And then through a series of clients, was able to take on the reins of a multinational corporation for almost 30 years. That was trial by fire every day. It taught me a lot about leadership, and one of the ways I describe myself as a leadership mentor, a strategic leadership mentor. And then throughout that whole journey, over all those years of counseling and being this corporation, I then had in 2012, I was diagnosed with cancer, and that shook things up in a hurry. All your priorities shift in a nanosecond, and got through that very gracefully. And then took about 10 years to just live a very quiet life. I retired, sold our horse farm in Western New York State, and retired, and led a very intentionally simple, grateful life for almost 10 years. And then about 3 years ago, as you were talking earlier, Brandon, a lot of things became clear to me about what life was about, what leadership was about, this thing that I call presence. And so 3 years ago, I just woke up one morning and said to my wife, Laura, I want to get back into the game. I want to start helping people. There's just too much that I've learned and that I've been given. I want to give back. And so entered a program and right away just started connecting with great people. And so I've been working with clients, mostly one-on-one, mostly private work. We're a fairly small client load now. We have a horse ranch here in Central Oregon. As some of you know, I'm a falconer and an avid horseman, so I enjoy those things still. But what gets me out of bed every single day is doing this work, and this work is helping other people transform, become inspirational in their leadership, turn around and serve other people, and that's my life at this point. So it's incredibly rewarding on so many levels. I get to meet great people like you, and I appreciate you having me on today to talk about this. And so anything that I can do to shed a little light on or bring a little wisdom or clarity to you or the folks in the community or anybody, I'm here. So take it away.
I've been active in our community lately with the summit, and you've already done that. I know there's a lot of people that love when you post threads and the way you word things. I know Dinka's a huge fan. I appreciate how you introduced yourself, Hank. I've always known you as such a humble, gracious, loving man since I've met you. Since the day I met you, and your cancer story actually touched my life because I had a my cool voice turned into a scare that you really gave me a lot of wisdom on. So I'm glad that I thank you for that. And I'm glad that you shared that part of your journey. Um, my first question really is what is leadership because that's a word you say a lot. And ever since I've known you, what does that mean to you?
It's a great question. Leadership to me is, and I define a leader as anyone who chooses to positively guide and support another human being. And I don't care if it's a corporate leader or healthcare professional, a coach, a mentor, a trainer, an educator, even a parent, right? So anybody who chooses to guide and support somebody else, in my view, is a leader. And so leadership is the action of that. And what I've found about that is, uh, there to me, it's not so much about the skills. Skills are important in leadership, communication skills, delegation, conflict resolution, all those various skills that we need to create relationships that help us accomplish things, which is what leadership tends to be. Um, it's really, for me, it's evolved into um, who we are as human beings and what is our character and how do we see the world? What are the qualities that we bring to every situation, every moment, every person? And and to me, the leadership is simply the act of helping another human being. It's that simple for me. And now it can, like I said, it can be in the home, it can be in the living room, it can be in the boardroom, any room can be a moment of leadership. But it doesn't have to be a formal setting. Leadership is what we do every day with our own lives. Oftentimes I'll say we're the CEO of our own lives, and how are we organized, and what are our goals, and how are we doing, and what metrics do we use to measure that, and what's the feedback we get from other human beings, other people in our circles. So to me, there's no real dividing line between leadership and life. To me, it's exactly the same thing. One has perhaps a different application, right? Leadership may have an application in terms of running a business, being an entrepreneur, being an executive, being a founder. Uh, but it always comes back to who are we versus what we do. And what I found is the senior principle is work on who we are. And then anything we do will naturally come out of that. It's one of the basic principles when I work with people. Um, yeah, we're gonna work on certain skills and we're going to apply them in very specific circumstances in your own life, and in particular to your own life and your situation. But it always comes back to um, our evolution as a human being, and how we interact with that. Are we conscious about it? Is it an intention and a goal in our life? And obviously, your community does that very well, which is why I love being part of it, and I appreciate letting me be a member. But leadership to me is who we are and how we live our lives, and then it's all about the relationships that we build and the quality of those and the depth of those. And so leadership for me is also not so much about climbing a ladder and going higher, but going deeper, keeping going deeper within ourselves, to hold certain concepts that are inclusive and inspiring, and also developing qualities that help other people rise, no matter who they are, no matter where they are. And that would be true for anybody in your community. So one of the things I like to be careful about is pegging leadership as only what happens in a corporation, because even though I spent 25 or 30 years there and learned a ton, leadership is much more than that. It's a daily activity, and then we can apply it in certain ways. I hope that helps.
That was a great answer. I wouldn't expect anything else, but yes, it really shows you, as you said, like parents, everything we do in a day, we're leading ourselves. You're always pretty much 24/7. You're leading something to get you to that. Is if it's that next destination or next goal or next anything, you're gonna be either leading someone or yourself. So I really love how you put that. Um, Dinka, I know, do you have any responses to what we've heard so far?
Well, I was just kind of um, soaking up the words and trying to um, put it in a way that it's simplified. Not because it was too complicated, but that's just kind of where my brain goes. So what I understood from what you said, Hank, is that in order to become a better leader, we have to become a better person. Is that what you're saying, basically, or is that way too simplified?
I couldn't have said it better. We should let you talk because you make it very simple and straightforward. Yes,
Oh,
become
I'm
a
just good at I'm just good at pattern recognition. I'm a parrot, basically. So
well. You're good.
I use this word, or we use this word a lot in this community recently. Synarchy, which is actually shared leadership, shared responsibility, and I really love that idea. Is that something that you can see happening in real life, or is this just kind of a utopian idea that we dream of? What's your take on that?
Do me a favor and tell me a little bit more about the word and how you understand it so I can make sure that I understand it.
So synergy is like when you have a kind of a circular leadership. So everybody takes part, but it's not hierarchical. Hierarchical. Oh my God, that's a difficult one. But it's everybody's on the. It's also not the kind of horizontal. It's really circular. So everybody takes part in decision making. Everybody is part of the responsibilities, and everybody has a certain amount of power, but it's not above each other. I don't know if that's exists anywhere at all, but the word does. So this is something that I feel like I feel called towards this idea, but I don't know if it's realistic at all, or if it's just kind of a dream.
So how do you spell the word? Spell the word for me.
Let me see. So it's Synarchy, synergy.
Okay. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that word. And
Okay.
so that's why I asked, I wanted to understand it a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, okay, if I jump in and give you my
Sure,
thoughts on it?
sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Let's.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Um, I think it's an interesting concept. I would need to spend some more time with it, to be honest. The one of the things that well, not that I just that I understand, but a way that I live my life is that we are all equal. I don't. You see, I ran a company that was based on hierarchies. I did it in a way that was more horizontal and circular. I mean, there were roles that we played. So I think I want to be clear about that. I think that there are roles in any given situation as part of any community. There are certain roles that we need to play for it to function. And so, in that sense, that person is the leader of that initiative or whatever. Um, I like to be careful about hierarchies, mostly because I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm above them or they're above me, vice versa. It doesn't really matter which way it goes. But I like the equality part. Um, I think that again, I want to go back to the if there are circles, there's not just one circle. There are many circles that are intersecting that make up a community, and within a certain circle, somebody's in charge. Somebody leads that initiative. And there needs to be some sort of relationship of other people in that initiative to the central leader. Now, that leadership can be, I mean, it can go anywhere from being dictatorial to being very consultative. And my inclination, my tendency in leadership is always to be consultative, asking people's opinions, finding out, getting the best idea wins. It's not about me as the leader; it's about what we're trying to do together. And then everybody rises on the tide. Everybody wins, and there's a role that has to be understood there. So I always want to be a little careful about. I've never found that leadership by committee works. I think somebody's got to be in charge of the overall thing, and then subsets of that. And when it's done from a conscious place, from an intentional and conscious place of understanding, then it can work really, really well. Um, the traditional hierarchy models, like chain of command, like in the military, it's imperative that that works there, or people die. So I think there are places for hierarchies in certain life and death situations, but as a whole, if we're coming together as elective, intentional communities, um, then it's a series of leaderships in circles. I like the circular, and often when I design models for business, it's done in a circle. So I love that part of it. Um, I would just want to. I'm going to be thinking more about your word, Dinka, and I appreciate you bringing it up because I really had never heard that before. Um, to me,
Right.
it always comes down to, does it work? Like we can sit around and say, boy, that's a great concept. Does it work in the real world? Does it work in reality at street level? Is it effective? Um, and part of that is where we're coming from when we are in it. And that's again where I'll go back to the inner leader. And But it will always come down to, does it work? We see lots of models of how to run a country or how to set up political systems or whatever, and they may be fine in a back room or in an office in a higher education institution. Does it work in the real world? Part of that depends on the people that are involved. It will always come down to who the people are that are involved. Um, Whether the model of synarchy is a good one or not, I can't say, because I don't know that I've ever been involved in it or seen it in action. So that's where I am with that at the moment.
So is it silly then to thrive to achieve it at all? If we don't have data, does that mean that it's not worth exploring at all? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so it's a really good question, and I think when we see models, it's it's always good to go out and test them and try them as like pilot programs first, rather than saying, "Well, this is good for everybody," because it probably won't be. Um, where I come from in my own leadership is I don't adhere to any one model of anything. What I adhere to is going as deeply and intimately into ourselves as we can in terms of, and I'll share a little idea about that in a second, is being the absolute best, most loving, most caring, most service oriented human being I can be, or any of us, and then letting the expression of that come out as it will. Where I see we get into trouble on lots of different levels in companies and in countries and in humanity as a whole is we try to shove everybody into a model. And I don't see that working very well. And I've been on the planet long enough, been lots of decades here to see various models tried. Um, what I've always found is if we go for the the innermost essence of who we are and the qualities that are best in humanity, whatever comes out of those will be the right form. It will work if it comes out of the right place. Where we get into trouble is we try to shove something into a certain model, a preconceived theory or something, and that tends not to work very well. I just haven't seen that as a whole. So I prefer to, and it's why I work one on one and privately with people, because I find that helping people transform and evolve consciously always leads to good decisions after that. And it's the same thing with leadership. It's just if I can help a leader get into a place and uh, exist in a place, be in a place that is kind and visionary and loving and service oriented, then they're going to make the right decisions. And your expression may be different than my expression, than Brandon's expression, but they're all going to carry a good basic quality, and therefore they will always work at that level. So I'm always a little skittish around theories and stuff. And my thing is, try it. It will always come down to who the people are who are involved, whether it works or not. So take it for what that's worth.
I think we accidentally kind of are. I think we are. I think we are the research thinker.
This
Um,
is a human experiment here, so
yeah. Um, Hank, I'm kind of curious with your experience, like in clinical psychology, and then 30 years in corporate America, and working with countless people. I'm sure how has figuring out what people need around you really affected how you lead.
It's a super question. Mostly what I learned about leadership and what I've come to even at this ripe old age is just listening and observing. And that involves being quiet. It involves um, I'll use a technical term, handling your own shit first so that you have free attention for other people around you. And when we slow things down and we pause and breathe and observe, truly observe and witness what's going on around us, what's going on, even just a person in front of us. Everything we need to know is right there. And then there's a trust. The experience obviously helps, but then there's a trust that what that person needs will emerge, and then we'll help in whatever way we can. The thing with me about evolution and leadership is we're I don't in my leadership work with people, I don't try to add things to people. I will offer a perspective or, an experience or wisdom or something from my past, from my life. But what I see is that people generally are there's something that's trying to emerge from people. And if we can be quiet enough and create the space, and that's another huge topic for us here if you want to, is how do we create that space for someone to offload what's going on and to set things down that they don't need to carry in that moment, that what they need is revealed. You don't have to dig deep. You don't have to look far. You just have to create the circumstance, create the space, slow it down, pause it, get things quiet, and people will reveal to you what they need. And then you do whatever you can to help them. Think I'm going back to you. That's about the simplest thing I can make it. And I love your pattern recognition and your ability to simplify things, because my life and my work is always trying to make things simpler, simply because as it gets down to the core of things, it gets simple. Where it gets complicated and complex is out on the edges, when we add more and more things to our lives and so on, which is why I'm always working to stay in a place, get to and stay in a place that is quiet and has clarity. And then from there, um, there's vision and there's wisdom at that place. Then you can come out and help others. Creating that space for other people really allows them to open up and to relax and to let go of things. Most of our suffering, most of our issues, leadership, life, I don't care how you name it, is we're holding so much. We're adding things to our lives that, and not just material things, but um, doubts and uncertainties and fears and things, um, that feel real, but they definitely cover over. So my view, and I was mentioning this earlier, is if you think about a sculptor staring at a big block of marble, the way they look at that is they look inside that marble and they see an image. They see a statue. They see an image of something. And then what they do is they start chipping away at anything that isn't that image, anything in that block that isn't that image. It's a great analogy, and it's the core of my work, because what happens over a lifetime, and maybe I don't think it's unique to me, but I see the essence of people. It's been something that I've been given by other mentors. It's something I've trained in. So when I meet someone, I I, I see their essence. I see who they are inside. The work is simply dealing with the stuff that's around that, helping them gently peel that away, peel those layers away, gradually and gently and lovingly. And what's revealed in there is always magnificent and lighter and more effective as leaders and human beings. So that image of chipping away anything that isn't who we really are is sort of a core of my business and my work, my service. And it's what guides me, in everything that I do. Tell me if I answered your question.
You did much more than that. This is, to me, it's so much inspiration, and you're an alchemist, and
Mm.
um, you show people that they are not human doings, but they are human beings. I think that's how I understand what you do, and it's like an error in our head. Like, what do you mean? I don't have to do more. No, you have to do less. It's all about the undoing. But we are so conditioned to do and grind and force and try to compete, that it's like completely uncharted territory. Therefore, it's horrifying probably for a lot of people to go inside and to turn the volume down and just sit in silence and listen to what comes up, because we do so much to just kind of block out any chance of having to listen to to that little voice inside. So I love that. I think that it's a superpower that you have, and it's great to be in the presence of that.
Well, you just said something really, we said many things that were important. The one I want to call out is the being versus doing aspect. And in my work with leaders are all about doing. I mean, part of Brandon, back to your question about leadership, it's about we have to accomplish things. We are, whether you're a coach and you're securing clients and working with clients, or you're running a company and doing all the things that are involved in that, we have to do. Leadership is an action, right? It's doing things. And Dinka, back to your point, which is really super, is that a lot of my work is helping leaders balance up balance up the being part. They're real good at doing. That's their downfall, right? They're doing to a fault. Um, so what I do is I help them in many cases, not all of them, but in many cases, it's beginning to listen to and understand the part of them that's being, and then bring that into their daily life. And it's a it's a process. It's a gradual process. It's a practice. But that point about being versus doing, it's not one or the other. It's, can you do things and still be in a certain place? And that's when everything changes. And that, to me, is what presence is about. Is bringing that level of being and understanding and the inner leader into the outer expression of leadership. And that's when things get really interesting. That's when a leader can go from being effective to being influential and impactful, and even to inspirational and transformative, because they're now working from a center place of being, which has constant clarity and constant groundedness all at the same time. And then anything that comes out, any words, anything they write, any actions, any programs, anything they do, comes out of that place. And so there's always this nice inherent balance. But you have to be willing to do the work of locating and establishing yourself in that ground of being, and then everything else comes out. It sounds real simple. It takes a lifetime, if not more. But that's the essence of the work. And in my work with leaders of all kinds, it's always about that balance of being and doing. So great, great response, Dinka. I appreciate that.
I'd like to know a little bit more about like the process, because I love how you just said like you take them from all the way up kind of the ladder of being a leader there. So like I want to know more about the process of when somebody does work with you and you're working with one-on-one people. Do you kind of like meet them where they are? Do you have a structured like this is kind of where we go? What does that kind of look like?
I boy, this is so timely, Brandon. It's such a great question because I'm getting clarity even within the last few weeks, literally, about how that whole thing works and where I've come to it. I'm not saying this is right for everybody. I'm just going to share with what my process has been. So I have all sorts of structures in my background in terms of concepts and theories and programs and all sorts of things. I mean, you live long enough and you do this stuff and you have all those. So I absolutely meet them where they are. I don't know any other way. I'm I don't teach anymore. I don't. Somebody asked me the other day. I have a good friend I have coffee with, and he said, what do you teach?" And I said, "I don't teach anymore," and I don't. Um, what I do is I go to where the person is and find out just exactly where they are, physically, emotionally, psychology wise, spiritually, whatever. It's just I go there, and then I use that vision I spoke about earlier of just saying, okay, what's trying to emerge here from this person? There's a core person, a core being in there. They've presented me with their body and how they dress and their words and their story, right? So that's kind of the outer shell of things. So it's what I call bifocal vision. And so I'm always doing two things at the same time. One is I'm seeing and keeping my eye on who that person is, that unique human being inside, the pure person inside. And I'm also recognizing and acknowledging what they're bringing to me in terms of circumstance and so on. And then it's more and more, it's just about creating the space, creating a field of acceptance and humility and compassion and empathy and real care. I mean, even we've all heard this thing about people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If I have to boil it down, Dinka, this is rock bottom stuff for you and me. If I have to boil this down, that's what it is. When people understand that you care enough to slow down and give them the space to be who they are in that moment, whatever that looks like, miracles start happening. Now, then my many years of experience can come into play depending on what's needed. So if I see a person is what's trying to emerge in that person is more confidence in social settings, in their leadership roles and whatever, then I have all sorts of tools that I can bring in to help them do that. It is absolutely about meeting them where they are. It is absolutely about creating a field of acceptance and clarity for them, where they can be who they are, because then trust is there. And when you have a relationship of trust, all sorts of things can happen, and they can happen pretty quickly. It generally takes time, right? And transformation generally does take time. Um, but there's creating that space and meeting them where they are. People can progress very quickly. I've been amazed where I thought, okay, this is going to take 6 months or a year. And in a matter of weeks, people are noticeably different because you meet them where they are. You create a field of compassion and caring for them. And then you bring in whatever skills and tools that we have as leaders to help and mentors to help them do that. It's a so it's the Brandon. I want to go back to the question, which was, I don't have a structure anymore. I don't teach anymore.
I love that.
It basically feels like hanging out with people, but I
So
have everything that I come with and that I offer them in the sense of a relationship. And so I'm always offering people to enter into a relationship. It's not about a structure or a program for me.
Mm.
That maybe that's just who I am.
cool.
If we have programs and structures that work, that's great. That's super. I'm at a point in my career where it's if you have developed your presence, if you have developed your being enough, then all of the skills are there when you need them. The best and most wonderful thing you can do for another human being is give them space. Hold that space for them, and then just watch what happens and follow it. It's amazing, and it takes a lot of trust. I was like, "Is that really? I mean, don't you need some structure and some programs, Hank?" And I'm finding that the deeper I go into who I am and who I see other people being and evolving to be, the less I need the structure, and the faster that they can move toward where they want to be in their leadership, in their life, in their being. So it's a it's a lot. It's a new territory for me, by the way, folks. I mean, this is not. This is something that I've come to in the last year or two, um, and it just keeps proving to be the method that I find that works consistently with people, because it's not a method, it's not a structure or a program. And I have those too. I mean, I can do certain programs with people or certain sequences of things, and all that's good. But more and more, it just gets basic. It gets real fundamental of giving people the room and the support to open up, and then you get to see who they are, and then you can help them, support them, do whatever they need to do next and next and next, and it goes on from there. But that's a real shift from where I was when I was younger. It was all about
Mm.
structuring programs and
Mm.
I can help you go from here to there and so on and so forth. When we start where they are and give them the space to open up, everything you need to know is revealed to you from that point on. But it takes experience and it takes trust. And it's taken me a long time to get there. What I like to do with people is compress that so that it doesn't have to. If I work with coaches, let's say, it doesn't have to take that long. You can work with somebody and have this happen in a lot shorter time. I don't want people to have to take all the decades that I took to learn what I learned. If I can turn around and help somebody compress that, if it took me 50 years to learn something and I can help you learn it in 50 weeks, what a blessing, right? What a great thing to be able to do. And that's sort of what my life is about at the moment.
So generous. I just kind of want to filter this through my own understanding. And what I got from this is that basically you are giving everyone that you work with um, your attention. That is the highest form of kindness and currency, I think. And by the rules of the universe, where attention goes, energy flows. So by giving them the space and the attention that they need, they will have this boost of confidence, ideas, resources, possibilities. I also see you as someone who just sees possibilities in people, and that's very empowering, especially when they cannot see it themselves.
Well, I think thanks. It's very well said. All of that. Part of our goal as guides in whatever function we're in is to people. We all tend to put limits on ourselves. Our part of our job is to see people as unlimited so that they can then begin to see themselves that way too. And when we do, lots of openings and opportunities happen for them. Um, I will agree with you on the attention part. I wanna say a little bit about that, because attention can be focus, and that's good. In my work in this thing I call presence, there are a few different dimensions, 3 basic dimensions that I've found, and the first one is about attention and being grounded and being focused, being here now. And attention is, to me, the understanding of that word is expanded because attention is not just my focus here, but what I bring as a whole human being in terms of compassion and empathy and care. Those to me, and you'll probably hear me say those a few times during this and other times, that um, in the world of leadership, particularly in the corporate world, boy, we use a lot more empathy and compassion. Um, Leaders tend to see that as weakness, and it is no such thing. It is not weakness at all. It is the next level of leadership, and people are just afraid of it. It's like, oh my God, I won't have control if I start being compassionate and empathetic, and that's not the case. They can blend very beautifully, and they become much more powerful. So attention, to me, is focus, but it's also heart, right? It's not just head attention, right? It's heart attention. It's whole being attention when I create that space for somebody. And I will say that when I work with people, um, back to the thing about attention, Dinka, is that when I'm in there with somebody, when I say in there, I mean it can be on a virtual call like this. Most of my clients and I are working through Zoom or some video conferencing. I don't care about anything else in the whole world. I'm oblivious to anything else in the universe. Bombs could be going off on either side. I don't care. It's not that I don't care. I don't hear them. My focus is on someone is so complete, and that's part of that's training. Part of that's just maybe the way I'm built. I'm so fascinated by people. I want so much for them to grow in whatever way they want to, not in my way. Uh, but that focus and that field of attention, if it's filled with the right things, that can just save people years of heartache and suffering and get them on their way. Uh, Beyond that, sort of, and it's like a tunnel for me. Think I want to talk to you about this very specifically. It's like a tunnel of attention. And it's like blinders on a horse. I don't see anything else. I don't hear anything else. I mean, literally, people could tap me on the shoulder. I don't know. It's like that's the level of care and attention, the care within the attention that I want to hear what they're saying. I want to know what they know. I want to feel what they feel so that I can help them take the next step, whatever that is. Beyond that dimension of attention is as we start to develop presence along the way. In an initial dimension, it's like a gathering in. It's a real focusing, a real embodiment of energy. If we want to talk about energy, we'll put it in those terms for a minute. As we start to develop it more, what I found is it starts to move out from the heart. It starts to move out. Literally, you can create a field for a room, um, and people feel it. It's magnetic. It's tangible. People feel it, and they are drawn in, not to us, not to us as egos and personalities, but they're drawn to that energy of that heart space that goes out to people. And then the final dimension, when I see people who are really well developed in their presence, is it's not a directional energy. It's not inward. It's not even outward. It's a field. It's like a whole field that encompasses a room or a relationship or a conversation, whatever the circumstance is. And all of that combined is transformative. People come into your company, they come into your presence, and there's something going on there that they respond to before a word is even spoken and all throughout the conversation. So my my view of presence has really expanded from being here now to radiating and being magnetic to creating a field where people can change very easily, and very gracefully. So I just wanted to clarify that thing about attention because it's true based on how we understand it.
Mhm.
Giving someone our attention to me is as a large, it's a huge, wonderful piece. And I hope that resonates with what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are a master of that as well. You are absolutely magnetic. And I think we're all just sitting here drinking your words and waiting for more. And you've had that influence on me instantly, even though we were just messaging. This is the first time that we speak to each other. But even in written form, I felt that energy from you. And that's actually, I think, probably the best way that you teach, that you embody it. And then when we have access to that energy, it rubs off. We learn by just being in your presence, and then you show people who you are and how you are, and then it turns something on. It enables them to have access to their inner being, and that's beautiful. That's really embodied leadership. So
Well,
it's an amazing thing to experience.
that was beautifully said, and thank you. I received that. I will say that it's a little odd to be talking about myself because mostly what I do is focus on other people. That's my joy. And Brandon and I have known each other for a long time. Other people, if Jenny Splain's still on, there are people here who inspire me every day, every single day. So it's it's never for me. It's never about an ego. It's not about me. It's presence is not about me, right? It's a much bigger thing. And if people experience that in my company, I'm just grateful because then it can help us do the work faster. And you're right. That's why I say I don't teach anymore. If I do anything, I live what I do, and then if people feel that and are drawn to that, then we end up working together, and it helps. But it's certainly not. It's intentional, but it's not about the personality. It's not about the ego. It's not being, oh, look at me, I'm special or whatever. I'm just who I am, and I've been given so much grace during my life at so many periods. Um, and this is just the way I've come to understand what that dynamic is that you and I are talking about right now. Is that presence and that embodied leadership? There's a transmission that happens, and that's why we like to be around people. We're attracted to certain people because they live and they give off something that is meaningful to us, and we want to be closer to that. And then in that, and you said this very beautifully in being close to that person, it starts to awaken in us. So if I were going to say anything about my leadership at this point, it is really about creating a field in which other people can awaken through the relationship, right? Doesn't make me better than them ever. That's not what it is. But there's a dynamic that we create by intention and growth, and it takes time. That's why I say you got to deal with your own shit. You got to do the work to peel away the things that get in your way of being a better leader, whatever kind of leader that is, whatever form of service you're involved in, running a company or coaching or building a community or whatever. That's our goal. Our job is to become better so that we can be better servants to other people.
It's really, since you've been talking this last little bit, I've been like almost in epiphany land of like, ever since you called me that time and told me, I really see leadership qualities in you. I never really believed that in myself. And then I look back at all the things of your teachings that you just have osmosis into my life are in this community. You are the foundations of this community, meeting people where they are. Our lifestyle, the five pillars, not being something we're teaching, but being something you figure out what makes sense to you out of those pillars to live the lifestyle that you need. Everything do we stop referring to ourselves as coaches completely and we're not. We're guides. We're in the forest doing this shit ourselves, figuring out our own shit. So come with us, we'll guide you through it too. And ever since we've made those switches, and presence and everything you've talked about, I am realizing that everything you've talked to me about in the last 3 years, I'm doing. And so I might be your biggest testimonial that you didn't know you had, just because of the way you have affected me. And I thank you for that. So there's no question in here. I'm kind of responding. But yeah, thanks for putting everything the way you have, Hank.
Okay, hold on. Let me just say one thing to you. I see that. I see you and I see what you're doing, and it is good.
Thank you, Hank. We're gonna have a moment here live. Thank you so much, Hank. And I do have a question I wrote down earlier that I've been thinking of, and your years of experience. Has there been any like pivotal moments that changed you as a leader, or was it just experience over time and compiling everything, or maybe a combination of all that?
Well, I think every day we're confronted with all sorts of opportunities and challenges, and so you know, just the I think part of it, Brandon, is what's our goal? What's our what do we feel is our purpose here? And I've always looked at this lifetime as a gift in a school that I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow and consciously evolve and so on. So I always try to bring that to every day and every circumstance. I went through was married before I met Laura, so I went through a divorce. I mentioned my cancer, the various businesses I've been in, the thresholds that I've crossed along the way, the people that have come into my life at amazingly graceful moments to help me. And I think it's it's just using every day, every circumstance, every moment, anything that happens to us, um, and especially the ones that are hard, the ones that feel hard, um, and then applying, first of all, remembering what we're trying to do here is we're trying to grow. We're not trying to just get comfortable and, he who dies with the most toys wins. That was a thing when I was in my 20s or 30s. It was a big deal as a t-shirt said, he who dies with the most toys wins. And we all laughed at it because, we could feel that part of ourselves that wanted to have material success, but we all knew that, that's not what it was about. So there was no pivotal moment as such. There's just been, if you enter each day open and on point and on purpose for what you're going to do, then there's going to be things that come up, and every day you can practice, you can get better. And yeah, I mean, I've lost most of my. I have one older sister left. All my other family members are gone. Have passed away, and and so all those things that happen in life, physical things, right? Whether it's cancer or chronic illness or whatever that is, they're all opportunities to understand this life better and to release anything that gets in the way of love. I don't talk a lot about love with leadership, but that's what it comes down to. And I'm not talking about the love we wear on our sleeves and the human love. I'm talking about the greater compassion and empathy that we have. And of course, I'm sure I'm not speaking out of turn here. Uh, we are very willing to show other people compassion and empathy. But God help us when we start to talk about ourselves, right? It's uh, and when I work with people, it's not just about their business or their service or their leadership and how it's expressed. It's how they see the world, it's how they see other people, and then ultimately it's how they see themselves. And when we get to that level, things change very quickly. If we can see ourselves in a way that is good and pure and worthy, you make a lot of progress in a hurry. But no real pivotal moment. But I, not speaking for myself, but also speaking for the all the people that I've ever worked with. We all have opportunities every day to grow, and it's is that our intention? And you've got a community now that's all it's evergreen evolution, evergreen foundations, right? I mean, it's all about conscious evolution, and that will bring that into every day, and it will guide you beautifully, and turn you into whoever you're meant to be in this lifetime. I'm just I honestly I feel lucky to be here right now. If I get a few more years, that'd be super. But it's an ongoing process, and fits and starts and hills and valleys and all those things, right? All those spirals and whatever we go through. Um, but what a great opportunity, this lifetime. What a great, and each of us have our challenges, right? And there were times when I felt like I was a golden boy. Everything was going right, and then it didn't. And then you find out what your character's about and where your next level of growth is. And that's what I do with leaders. I find out what's your next level of growth. So, um, this is fun. Can we keep talking for a little bit?
Yeah, it's that time of the year.
Well, there's another thing that we do on this podcast. We connect estranged siblings, apparently since yesterday, and Mark says that he might need another DNA kit because he feels like you might be related to each other. Mark's also going to speak in a couple of days here, so he's been an integral part of all of this. I think you've been on every single call, right?
Yes.
I'm sure that he will find you in the comments or somewhere because I knew this straight even before this call started. You have so many things in common, just values and the kindness and the presence and the mission that you are here to help people. So that's always very beautiful. And I feel so grateful that we have attracted this amazing group of human beings in our community. And that's just how energy works. What you put out there, then it comes back to you. And I feel so grateful that this is the energy that we show, and this is what comes back. I don't know, Brandon, do you have something?
Yes, I'm going to go off topic for a minute, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to know a little bit. Hank, how long have you been a falconer? Can you tell
Oh, right.
falcon
Yeah.
us?
So there's two main hobbies that I have, along with my life with my wife Laura and our ranch here, and the work that I do with leaders. And two main hobbies: horses and hawks. And I've been a horseman for, well, a long time, and that's still a part of my life. And then it was about just about 20 years ago. I was driving into work. This is living in Western New York State. I was running this multinational company. I was driving into work through the countryside, and I came upon an injured hawk in the middle of the road. And it wasn't just an injured hawk. A it was a red-tailed hawk, so it had a red tail, like the beautiful brick red color that you associate with a red-tailed hawk. But instead of being brown, it was an albino. It was a pure white hawk, and somehow it had been injured. Nobody knew how. It was standing in the middle of the road, and I'd grown up around hawks. I grew up in the country. I'd seen hawks pretty much every day of my life, and I had seen, like most of us have, we knew something about falconry. We'd seen it in a movie or in a book or in a magazine or something. I mean, I knew what it was, and I pulled over. And I'd never been up close to a hawk before. I didn't know anything about them, but he was standing in the middle of the road, and if I didn't do something, somebody's gonna come along and run him over, not knowing what it was. So I took off my jacket, and I came up behind, and I picked it up, pinned its wings and picked it up, and called the local authorities who take care of that sort of thing. And I was graced to sit with that hawk on the side of the road for about 45 minutes, just holding it in my arms against my heart. It wasn't bleeding, it didn't show any signs of injury, but something was wrong, right? And it was like catatonic. It was still his eyes were open, but it was not really doing anything, not struggling, not moving around. And that was the catalyst. I came home that night and I said, "Honey, I gotta tell you, I just had a spiritual experience this morning." I mean, it colored my whole day at work. It was really just amazing. It was so magnificent. This bird was so beautiful and magnificent. And it got me thinking that I was at a point in my career and lived in the country, and I knew about falconry, and so that let me open some doors and find other people who were doing it. And um, it's a long process. There's an apprenticeship, a very traditional sort of guild-like process of becoming an apprentice to a sponsor, a general or master falconer, and going through that. But it's been one of those constants in my life. As it turns out, this year is the first year I've not had a bird in 20 years. For the season, because we're getting ready to move to a ranch a few hours east of here, and there were a lot of things that I didn't feel that taking on a couple of young birds was the right thing to do for them. It was, you really need to give them your whole focus and attention for about 3 months, and I wasn't able to do that, so I didn't. But it's one of those things that takes you back to some really primal things about hunting and nature and how things work out there in nature. And these birds are never pets. They're not. I mean, if they thought they could pin you down and rip your heart out, they will. I mean, they would do that. So it's not. They're not pets. They're not like canaries or parakeets. These have massively powerful talons, and you have to know what you're doing, and you have to pay attention all the time. Uh, Having said that, going out into the field with a wild raptor that has they don't ever love you, right? It's sort of a story of unrequited love. When we love them, they don't love us. They come back because there's food, and they know that, and they trust us. We've never given them a reason not to trust us, so they will come back under all the right conditions. And on any given day we go out, there's no guarantee you're coming back with your bird. So it's a very tenuous relationship. You can mitigate it by good training and other good practices, which we do. But being out in the field with a hawk, um, it allows us to hunt with it. It allows us to be there. That's the privilege of falconry, is it that they're doing exactly what they do without you, except they're letting you be part of it. And that is something, I mean, that's a level of privilege and grace that is hard to describe. And you know it once you've been in the field with a hawk and it's on your fist and comes back to you, or hunts game and whatever. It's a truly magnificent thing. Horses are domesticated, right? They're dogs, horses. They're more domesticated. When you're a falconer, you're dealing with a wild raptor, and you're always conscious and humbled by the fact that this is a wild creature that's letting you be there under certain circumstances, and it's to see them fly, to see them hunt. They fly back to your glove. I don't care how many years you've been doing it. They land on your glove and you grin like an idiot for a week. Like, yeah, it's and they're so beautiful. They are just every feather, every part of them is built for who they are, and and there's different types of hawks that you can. And I've flown a few different types, but it's something that I look forward to every winter. We generally fly them, say October through March. There's no real season out here in Oregon. We can hunt jackrabbits and cottontails all year round if we want, but generally in the wintertime is when we do that. So it's always a fun. And where Laura and I are moving to, is some of the best falconry, the best hawking in the state of Oregon. So it's part of the reason that we're going. One of the many reasons we're going out there. But it's just loaded with game, and I can take hawks out within 5 or 10 minutes of the ranch and be flying them on game. But it's pretty exciting. It can also be very heartbreaking. You can lose your bird in an instant. An eagle can come down and kill your bird. It can fly in front of a truck. It can fly into a window. It can get caught by a coyote. It can fly away. I mean, there's about 1,001 ways you can lose your bird. So any day that we come back from a hunting trip with our hawk, it was a good day. Whether we caught anything, chased anything, saw anything or not, it was a good day because we came back with our bird. So it's a very unique primal relationship that we have with these birds. And there might be only 3 or 4,000 falconers in the United States, and I would say only 10 or 15% of those are active, right? Actively going out. So this is not, as you can imagine, it's not, you don't find a falconer in every corner. But
Feeling
it
there's
is,
gonna be one in Portugal someday. I just have a feeling there's gonna be one living in Portugal.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, it sounds like the way you describe it, it sounds like they're like gladiators or something. Like it's never given that they're coming back in one way or another. You can lose them, and it sounds really cool, but it also sounds like an emotional roller coaster.
it's a lifestyle. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
not like golf clubs. You can't put them in the closet and forget them for it's a lifestyle for sure. So it's a big commitment. But I'm so thankful that I got involved in it. Um, And that's that piece. I'm glad you asked about that, because, dogs, horses, hawks, animals teach me so much. I mean, dogs have taught me a lot about love and loyalty and compassion and forgiveness, and horses have taught me about partnership and cooperation and power, and falcons and hawks have taught me about vision and intensity and partnership. So it's, every it also helps me stay grounded, right? A lot of us do a lot of heady work. And so it's good. I find it good for me to get out and do, physical things, get out in the field with the dogs and the horses and the hawks and do the things around the ranch. Anything to stay grounded and balanced. We talked about that earlier, the balance between being and doing, the balance between thinking and conceptual work and physical work. That's always an ongoing thing for me. Is just trying to achieve that harmony, that balance of the two. Because one helps the other.
It's so fascinating. Me and Dinka are both it's so fascinating, like, everything
It is.
I can feel your passion, and I'm sure that's quite the feeling when you're holding that glove up and you have that falcon hit your arm, and I you shared a video, I think her name was Molly, maybe, if
Yep.
I'm you shared a video once where you had a video camera hooked up to her, and I showed my kids, I was like, "You gotta see this, my buddy Hank," and, like, it was the coolest thing to see her take off and hunt and land, and
Well,
yeah, that was
a couple of years ago, there's a local filmmaker here, and he worked with us for several weeks, and put together a 5-minute uh, little documentary, a little story. Dinka, if you want to give me some time, if you want, and Brandon, I think I did share it with you. Dinka, give me some way over to you, and I'll show it to you. It was beautifully done. This guy was an award and what do they call that? He won an award not for this film, but for other things he's done, and he's a good friend. And yeah, it gives a little. You get this. Here I am talking about it in the 5 minutes. You get to see the bird hunting and coming back to the glove and so on. It's really it's been a real blessing in my life. Again, it's a big commitment, but it was one that I was ready for. I was in my mid-50s when that happened, because I had some flexible time and I lived in the country and so on. So it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants it, and not everybody's ready for it. But those who are, there's there's just nothing like it. It's and I love to take people out into the field who've never been that close. And I do presentations. I'll go to schools and senior centers and things and do a little dog and pony show with a PowerPoint and so on and pull the bird out. But yeah, it's been a nice part of my life. And so have horses, right? Horses are another thing that I do on a regular basis. I've just been so fortunate. I mean, we talk about this and yeah, it's cool and it's magnificent. What I mostly feel is just gratitude for being able to
Mhm.
do this. Um, so, yeah, this is fun. Could hang out with you 2 all day.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when you find that little documentary, please share it in the community. I'm sure
oh,
everyone would love to see
Okay.
it because it sounds something like you don't really see every day.
I actually have a question that popped into my head, Hank. What is one of the things working with people this day and age? Like, what are some of like the limiting beliefs, the things that you see almost every time, not every time, but really common that you have to get leaders to see within themselves?
Um, I think the biggest challenge where my business has evolved into, my work with leaders, is, um, they find themselves at a pivotal moment or a threshold. And generally, it comes in one of 2 ways. The younger leaders, the younger can be anything from 30 to 50-ish, right? Just that kind of an age range where they've gotten to a point where what they were doing before isn't working now, or it's certainly not working as well, and it's creating strain. There's a very hidden strain, and leaders tend to be quite stoic. We don't tend to talk about what's going on with us. We're conditioned, men particularly, but women. The women in leadership I see, same thing. It's we're conditioned to be stoic and to hide our pain and to just shoulder the burden, and we are leaders, and anything less than that is weakness. So part of that, part of what I see is coming up to, I wouldn't call it so much a limiting belief, but getting to a point where they're carrying weight and what they're doing isn't working like it was, and what they really need is a new way to learn how to carry that weight more with more grace and poise, including setting it down, learning when to set it down. And it has to do with awareness, and because most of us spend a lot of our day in the weeds. We are in the trenches, in the weeds, and we don't give ourselves enough pause and time to take a breath, step back, take a big step back so we can gain some perspective. Perspective is probably the thing that I do most for people, is help remind them of what there is and what's possible. That sounds a little cliche, and I don't mean it quite that way, but we're in the trenches so much that we lose sight of the horizon and where we're going, and the width that we have, the bandwidth that we actually have. So that's a very common thing that I see with leaders, uh, in my work, and that's leaders of all kinds, right? Doesn't matter which industry or category or level. And the other piece of that is, and I think this is because I am older and I've been through all of these wars and crossed these thresholds before. There's also a very similar moment for leaders who are senior leaders who are maybe they're starting to move into a new phase of their leadership, and it's uncharted territory, right? They don't know the terrain. The maps that they were using up until that point are no longer the maps for the new territory. And so what I do with them is I help them understand the moment, understand and chart out the new territory, and then help them into that new ground. Um, but I would say it's more of an awareness and a perspective piece, uh, and then just an understanding of what real leadership, what full leadership, conscious, transformative leadership actually looks like and feels like. Uh, and those are the people that tend to show up. I wouldn't say it's not so much that there's one limiting belief, but I would say there's a limiting perspective, right? There's a limited perspective, and it's very common. I went through it more times than I care to admit. But that's a great question, and that's sort of the common theme that I see. And then this whole trend in leadership to teach skills rather than teach what helps develop the inner leader. That's really where all my work is. Developing the inner leader to meet these thresholds and to cross them successfully. Um, and they come in all shapes and forms, and in various parts of somebody's career, even between careers. Um, so it's and the people I work with are from age 30, and I had a phenomenal talk with a fella yesterday. He was 82 years old and looking at his next career, looking and standing at that threshold I was just mentioning, and how to extricate himself and move from where he is to where he wants to be. Because that's always, it's like, here's where you are, there's where you want to be. How can I help? Right? What can we do there? So that was a great question.
It's yeah, thanks. That was even better. That was a great answer. It's funny because Mark Lawrence said something on Gabby Roberts' call, who we both know and love from B&B, and he said, I'm 65 years old and I'm starting my life over." And I love that. There's a lot of, and that's the same thing with, he said that 82 years old and he's starting his new career. I love that there's more emphasis on "I'm not done yet," where I feel like a lot of people get stuck in, "Oh, it's over," or "I'm too old." I'm 40 years old and I see people all the time, "Oh, we're too old." It's like, we're not. We're not
Yeah.
old.
That's it's a matter of perspective, right? Like if you think that you are too old at 40, you probably will be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, oh,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Elizabeth, I did let you, if you want to take yourself off a mute and jump in, there you go. Hi, it's nice to see
Can you hear
you.
me now?
Yes,
Good. Well, hi, everybody. It's so good to see you.
you as well. It's so nice that you're here. So thanks for joining us.
Hi,
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Hi, Hank. So good to see you. I had another call at the same time, and I tried to get on my computer because I'd rather listen to Hank, but it wouldn't go on my computer. So I thought, well, let me try my phone, and there you were. But I was already deeply into my other call. But anywho, back back to a couple things you just said. One about age. I am 66. Yeah, 66. So I don't feel a bit different, than I did when I was 36. And when it come to, your thoughts and your goals and your dreams, I guess. But hopefully, I'm a little bit wiser and learn from the stupid mistakes that I've made. But when it comes to age, that doesn't really mean anything, I don't think. But back to what you just said about teaching people to overcome or face not a problem, but their hiccups or their not knowing which way to go, not really a skill, but just how to overcome obstacles and learn from them obstacles and move forward with your life. That really kind of just moved me a little bit. And when I look back about, when I started at B&B, it was like I see sometimes my videos will pop up, my content will pop up, and I'm like, I just didn't. I look at them, I'm like, you just don't look authentic. You're not coming across as you. And you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, I don't know. I just was holding myself back, and I didn't really feel the worthiness of myself to put myself out there, and it was kind of like trying but faking it, kind of, or kind of putting a facade out there. So, that's one thing that I learned so much from it. And even though I'm not really coaching, I got so much out of that program. And plus I've got friends out of that program that I don't feel any regrets at all about, the steps that I've taken in my life, not only with that, but the new group that I'm in is more focused on I was telling you, getting into cryptocurrency and learning how to manage my own money to grow my own monies, and that's my job now in my retirement. So, and it's going very well, and I'm very happy with it, and just continuing to grow, and hopefully to like you said, learning to overcome things that hold you back, and to be myself and to love myself. That's the main thing that I have accomplished over the last couple of years. Physically, I've been working out, and I got some guns you wouldn't believe, and um, it's pretty amazing. It amazes myself. But I've been working at it for going on 3 years now. So, but anyways, so I'm in the best physical shape I've been in my life. So and I'm now just down to toning abs. That's my next goal. So it's like that's pretty darn good, I think. But anyways, I just wanted to say hi and let you know that I have gotten so much, and the personal coaching that you gave me, Hank, was so valuable in my mindset on thinking about, okay, where are you and what do you really want to do? And I just am so appreciative.
Well, you are one lovely human being, and what the growth I've seen in you. I mean, I remember coming into Business Breakthrough and seeing you. You're one of the first people I saw on a call, and I saw who you were, and I saw what you were struggling with. And boy, what a different human being you are now. What a lovely thing. Great. Good on you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Elizabeth,
it.
I can't agree with Hank enough. I remember my first ever Zoom and BB. Me and you were buddies, one-on-one buddies, and we worked on our elevator pitches together. Hasn't
Exactly.
that changed? It's so
Exactly.
crazy to see where we are. So thanks for sharing and thanks for joining us here at the summit.
Yep. Awesome. Can't wait to do it again.
So, Hank, we've taken up. It's been awesome just going back and forth in our conversation, and I think we could all listen to you for hours, talk about anything. I think Dinka said yesterday she could listen to Stacy read the phone book, and I'm pretty sure that's where we're all with you at this point. And but I think it's time that, in respect of your time, that we kind of start the downwind of this call. So I'm going to throw it over to Dinka.
So there's this thing that we do for each speaker on this podcast now, apparently. I draw a card from this oracle deck that I love very much, and so for you, I drew the Traveler card, and it reads, "Move in a new direction." And I hope it resonates because, yeah, it means to me. I don't know you maybe enough, but I feel like you are someone who maybe it's an internal journey, but there is definitely something that resonates with the Traveler in my mind. So I hope
And you're
it does
moving
too.
ranches.
Yeah. No, that's real well on a lot of different levels. Thank you. And thank you both for making this all possible. Just not just for me, but for everybody else. You're doing a phenomenal job with this community. It's my pleasure to be part of it, and I appreciate the time today. It's always fun to talk about these things with other people who care.
I can't thank you enough. And for all those that might have connected with you and resonated with you today, where can we find you, Hank?
So my website is thewayofleadership.com. That's all one word, thewayofleadership.com. And on Instagram, I'm Hank Miner Leadership.
Hank, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like every one of these in the summit has been more me and Dinka sitting down at a table for lunch with a friend, and we kind of just riff, talk. Maybe some of the questions don't make sense. I don't know, but I feel like we always get to the right message, the right energy of the call. Guys, keep showing up for yourselves and others in this community, because it's been really awesome to see. And give love. Say, Hank, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Hank. Give love to Hank. The last thing that I do, the last question I ask before we hit end on this call is, what does evolution mean to you?
Evolution is a gift to me. It means it's a gift of life, a gift of an opportunity to make something, to enter in one state and depart in another. And so evolution is this ongoing privilege and gift that we have to better ourselves and connect with one another and see beyond our separateness and get back to the unity that's who we really are.
Mm, I love that.
You too. Beautifully said, my friend. Brother,
Wonderful.
I
Dinka,
really,
let's stay in touch, Dinka. You and I need to have some more conversations. Such a pleasure seeing you today. I see Brent
I'm
all the
I'm
time.
so happy that you feel that way, because I was gonna get in touch anyway.
And congratulations on you two podcasters.
Thank
you
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. If anybody wants to reach out, just please do. I'd love to speak with anybody. Okay?
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Hank.
much.
Take care.
Bye bye.